All right, I'm just out back here walking my dog, and I wanted to give you guys an update on a couple of things. One was I did a video, it was about the same time last year, of some Red Osier Dogwood growing up through a pallet that I had just thrown on the other side of my fence by my house. And I thought it was kind of cool. I have never had dogwood grow here, and I think that pallet just kind of helped mat a bunch of grass down, and I'm guessing a bird or something flew by, pooped some seeds or whatever, and one just started growing up through this pallet, and it actually continued to grow really well with that pallet down, just kind of basically giving it a weed barrier. So I want to show you guys that really quick, and then I also want to walk over to the other side of my yard where I got a couple of hybrid willow cuttings that I planted right along my backyard as just some kind of test ones. So I'll show you how big those are. These would be pretty much exactly 2 years old to early March right now. And two of them have grown really well, and the other three died that were test ones. So let me show you the dogwood first, and then we'll go check out the willow. All right, here's that dogwood growing up through this pallet. So I'm hoping I can find the video from last year to just do a side-by-side of how big this thing is now compared to what it was last year. If not, I will put a link to my video last year down below in the description. But you can see, so this tallest one right here, this is probably gonna be hard to tell, but it is up to, I mean, like mid rib cage on me. So that thing's probably, I don't know, 4.5 feet tall, maybe even a little bit bigger. And the deer have been, or they did this winter, when my swamp froze over, or all my flooded timber froze over, they were able to get up here, and every single end of this thing has been nipped off and browsed. But I mean, just from what I remember last year, this thing's got to be 3 times the size of it, maybe even more. I mean, it's got a ton of shoots all growing up through this pallet. So again, I don't know if this has an application actually out in the woods trying to grow dogwood cuttings or anything like that, but it kind of makes sense to me. If you can give the dogwood something to compete against the grasses with, I mean, here's a year's worth of growth right here, which this has grown far more than any of the dogwood cuttings that I've actually planted back in my woods. So just something to think about. Let's walk over and check out those willows now. All right, so here is where I planted 5 hybrid willows. One of them is this right here, and then the other one is right there, and I'll show you guys a closer look. And hopefully I can find the couple that are dead too. So these were ones I had bought just off of eBay. They were like 50 cents or $1 a cutting. I think I bought 20 of them. I put 5 here as kind of a way to me to test and monitor, and also I thought of these as easy trees that once they started growing, I could take cuttings off of again. And I guess overall, both here and back in the woods, I probably had about 50% survival on them. I didn't soak them in a bucket. I didn't do anything like that. I just stuck them in the ground. So you can see that one right there is about the same size as the original cutting is now. And this one is, I mean, it is up to like my chin, and I'm 6'3", so it's pushing 6 feet. And it's also been browsed by the deer all the way up to the top. And I just saw, let me see if I can find it again right here. Here's a dead one. This one, kind of the same thing. This one grew, I mean, it's about the same, diameter down here at the base. It's basically now the same size as the original cutting. This one split off a lot more though. It's not quite as tall. This one's probably mid rib cage, kind of like that dogwood. So they did okay. I guess I would have liked to have a little better results. I will say that, and I can't show them to you guys now, they're back in the woods, but the willows that I planted just from taking my own cuttings from a downed willow that I found in my woods and soaking those cuttings in a bucket for like a week or so before actually planting the cuttings, that worked a lot better than these hybrid willows, just basically sticking them in the ground. I don't know if it was the natural cutting versus the eBay cutting that was the main factor, or if it was the soaking versus not soaking. But I have had a lot better success with those natural cuttings soaked in a bucket. All right, you guys, there you go. There's a quick update for you. I hope you enjoyed. I apologize for the wind if it was really noisy in this video, but hopefully that's a couple things just to consider if you guys are doing habitat work, planting things like willows or dogwood or just cuttings in general. Hope you enjoyed. Remember, be a sportsman, make a sportsman.